Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Another week, another AEW Dynamite. Blood and Guts, May 5, 2021. It's already the 5th month of 2021. That is insane. But how you doing today, buddy?
Pretty good, man. You know what else is insane?
What?
This night's Dynamite.
And you know what else is insane?
What's that?
The price that I can get you on a brand new desktop computer.
Tell me more.
Anyway, so I'm guessing you're a fan of this Dynamite tonight?
Yeah, I was firing on all cylinders. It was pretty crazy. They really didn't skip a beat. There was nothing that I can think of that was really like, it was a miss for me.
Ooh.
How about you?
There was something that was kind of a big miss for me, but I guess we'll get into that much later.
Well, there was one thing now that I think about it, but yeah.
You want to talk about that now, or do you want to talk about that later when we get to it, that part?
We could be talking about two different things.
Okay, actually, there was two things that really kind of ruffled my feathers, to say the least. But I mean, nothing too bad. Nothing really. I mean, at the end of the day, you just gotta be like, it's pro wrestling.
That's true. You gotta let some.
You gotta let some things go.
You gotta let a lot of stuff slide.
Yeah. But shall we get into it then?
Let's do it.
We start off AEW Dynamite, May 5th, 2021 again. We start off with MT Nakazawa. They never explain what the MT is for, but I guess it's Michael Thomas Nakazawa. And Kenny Omega versus Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston. So Don Callis comes out and he announces that Nakazawa is one of the legends of Japan, up there with Inoki, Baba, Okada, and Ibushi, whoever those guys are. I don't know who those guys are. But anyway, he says Kenny's not here, so Nakazawa will wrestle by himself. And I guess as we go further in the match, this was a joke, but it looks like Nakazawa was not in on it. Don't you think?
Yeah.
He was like, oh shit. I mean, he's out there in his polo shirt, his uniform. He's
in his khakis. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, but yeah,
he's got his headset on still, and I mean, he plays it up well, but yeah, it almost looked like he really didn't know what was going to happen.
So Eddie and Moxley and Eddie walk down to the ring, but then they get attacked in the crowd by Kenny Omega, and he's attacking them with the AEW World Title. And then that's the start of the match. So what did you think of this match?
For comedic purposes, it was good. It actually flowed pretty well. I mean, Nak played his part pretty well, and you know, Mox and Kingston were the badasses they should be in all of this. It was fun. I liked it. It wasn't real. The outcome was really never in doubt.
Yeah,
but it was fun for what it was. I liked the way it, you know, flowed, I guess you could say.
Yeah. So like you said, the outcome was never in doubt. Kenny Omega gets a clean pin over Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston at the same time. And then no, that's not what happened. So yeah, Michael Nakazawa eats shit, obviously, as the ending of this. But before that, so they're beating up Kingston in the beginning, and then Mox comes back. He takes control, and he's just in the match now. There was no tag for this part for some reason. But then they destroy Nakazawa. Kenny gets in to break it up. And then Nakazawa hits a low blow on Eddie, so they take advantage of him again. Kenny misses the moonsault portion of You Can't Escape, as always. Mox and Nakazawa tag in. JR says something about, you know, like, well, if these two guys stay the legal men, the outcome is not in question. It's like, pretty much so. And Mox hits a pile driver. Kenny makes a save. Mox and Nakazawa. And so Mox puts Nakazawa in like a chokehold. Eddie invites Kenny into the ring, and he just walks out. So they hit a combo clothesline and half dragon, half tiger suplex on Nakazawa. So yeah, that's a fun match. That was exactly what pretty much everyone would have thought. I mean, no one is thinking that Nakazawa is gonna win, right?
Yeah, no one, definitely. Well, maybe Don Callis, because he put him up there with the legends of Japanese wrestling.
Or maybe
in a handicap match, no less.
In a handicap match to make it a fair fight, right?
Yeah.
So the Young Bucks come out, and Shivani says, "What are they wearing? That's somebody's curtain." And they come out, they jaw jack with Eddie and Mox, and then the Good Brothers attack from behind. Magic Killer on Mox. Matt super kicks Mox with his bare foot after whacking him with his shoe. And then Kenny and Brandon Cutler come back. Kenny hits the one-winged angel on Eddie, and Nick counts the pin for the 3. So one would think that Kenny Omega is going to defend the title against Eddie Kingston in an upcoming world title match. Maybe.
You would think.
Maybe. But they announce after this match, that Hikaru Shida will defend the title against Britt Baker at Double or Nothing on May 30th. So finally, it's about time this match happens.
Sign me up.
I'm all for that. And they also will have a big announcement on who Kenny's opponent will be at Double or Nothing, and that's coming up tonight. I'm looking forward to that. I mean, it's like Brian Cage, right?
You would think. Or maybe Eddie Kingston, like you just.
I mean, they made such a big deal about Hangman Page being the #1 contender, and then Brian Cage beat his ass very cleanly last week. So, I mean, Kenny should defend the belt against Brian Cage, right? I mean, that's a no-brainer. That's a no-brainer if you ask me. In the company where wins and losses matter and the rankings matter, right?
You would think.
You would
think. A little bit of foreshadowing there.
Yeah. So up next, we've got QT Marshall versus Cody, and in the feud that everybody talks about is so personal, and it's like I don't see it. Anyway, the match. Your thoughts?
Actually, I will say this match was better than I thought it would be. But I did have a really low bar set for this match. It wasn't great.
Yeah.
It really felt like it was missing something. And I know that's kind of a cop-out answer, but it just wasn't firing on all cylinders for me.
I mean,
for a match that's supposed to have this kind of heat behind it, right?
It was pretty much Cody beating his ass almost the entire match.
Yes.
I mean, Cody destroyed him in the exhibition, right? So
yeah, he did.
Do we have any reason to believe that a real match where Cody's actually pissed off and trying to win would be any different?
Yeah,
which is fine. I mean, and that's what happens. It would be kind of stupid if all of a sudden QT is just beating the crap out of Cody. So
turns it up another gear.
At least it was consistent in that way. So anyway, Cody attacks immediately at the bell. He's gonna smack QT with the weight belt, but the ref takes the weight belt away from Cody. But QT hits Cody with his own weight belt, and then there was one weird ass, no pun intended, part in this match where Cody goes for the sunset flip and he just pulls QT's tights down, and they had to censor it.
I thought QT pulled his own tights down. No,
I think he was trying to pull it up.
Oh. That was weird. I have no idea what was
going
on.
Why would he pull his own tights down?
No, it was just all happening so fast. It looked like he was like kind of adjusting. It was like, what the hell is going on? Like, I almost thought he was going to moon Cody.
Yeah, it just...
It was weird.
It just was like, odd. What was this for? Like, it led to nothing. So, like, if it led to something, then I guess, but it led to nothing. So, I don't get it.
That had to be on a botch, because even the announcers were confused about what he was doing. It sounded like. They were all like, "Oh, did he do that on purpose?" I don't know. So,
and then right after that too, he pulls his pants up, and then Cody DDTs him. Then he goes for a Cody cutter, and then he gets countered into a crossroads by QT, and that gets a 2. And then QT calls for the diamond cutter. Cody counters that into a buckle bomb. They counter tombstone attempts. Finally, Cody hits 1 for 2. JR says, "Are you kidding me?" And then. This was weird. I thought this was the end. So Cody counters a punch into the crossroads. It's not even like a big move. It's just QT just throws a punch, and then he gets countered into the crossroads. But then he kicks out. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then Cody helps him up for some reason. QT gives him the middle finger, and then Cody snaps and puts him in the figure 4. And QT taps, and then for some reason, Cody is bleeding from the right eye.
So I watched that again. So I think what ended up happening was when Cody was going for the figure 4, I think QT scratched him on the eye by accident. Like when he was going for the hold. So like when he was going for the hold, right? When he was going for the figure 4. I gotta watch it again, but as he was going for the hold to put him into the figure 4, while they were still standing, it looked like QT scraped him on the eye by accident, just because he was trying to get out of it, not on purpose.
Oh,
And as they went to the floor, then you saw he's just bleeding like profusely from his eye, because before that he was fine. So
yeah,
I'm gonna guess it was completely unintentional.
I didn't go rewatch it, but I was just like, okay, now he's bleeding for some reason. I was like, okay.
Yeah, that happened so fast. I was like, "Whoa, what happened?" Because while he was trying to set him up for the figure 4 when they were both standing, he was fine. Then on the ground, he's bleeding. Like, whoa, that's nuts.
And then classic good guy mistake: never celebrate too much while the cameras are still rolling, because Anthony Ogogo comes around, punches him in the gut, and then drapes the British flag over Cody. Like, I don't know what I don't know where this British flag thing came out of nowhere. Like, I guess that's like he's like a British patriot guy or something. But
he's British, so I guess, I don't know. He's pushing that angle. To get heat, I guess. That's the only thing I can think of.
I don't really see how that adds to his character, but whatever. I mean, him being a badass dude who can like pretty much take out everybody in one punch is enough, don't you think?
I would agree with you, but I'm gonna guess it's just for the aspect of trying to get over more heat, because it's like, hey, I'm an asshole and I'm British. So what do you think about that?
So I guess it's not something that's like terrible or anything, but it's just like I don't know. Like, it's confusing.
Yeah.
It's whatever though. So Marvez, he teleports to some kind of stadium hallway up way top in the rafters.
No, it's got to be the bleachers, right? The top of the nosebleeds. Yeah,
the cheap seats, as they say.
Yeah,
and he's with Ethan Page and Scorpio, and I gotta say, this wasn't bad.
So let me say, this was freaking awful until the surprise entry of someone who was mentioned in this promo by Ethan and Scorpio.
Okay, so you thought it was god awful.
I thought it was terrible.
I thought it was not bad. So they're wearing shades. I'm not talking about Marvez. I'm talking about Ethan Page and Scorpio. Scorpio starts off doing his best Riddler impression. Riddle me this, riddle me that. Who's afraid of the big black bat? And the big black bat is Sting's bat. So he calls Sting a mosquito. You know what we do to mosquitoes? We kill them. I'm the franchise now, bitch. And this is the best part of Ethan Page. It was like the greatest thing he ever said so far in AEW. He says he says that he's got history with Darby Allin, but no one wants to talk about a bunch of matches people never saw. You're right. I don't want you to talk about a bunch of matches I've never seen. And he says that Darby wears the paint because he put a dent in Darby's head, and he's got a metal plate in his forearm. And Darby comes out of nowhere like Batman. Comes out of nowhere, slams the crap out of Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky. He beats the crap out of them. He climbs up, I guess, like a column with some light rigging on it. Does a coughing drop. And I was like, had this ended right there, that would have been awesome.
Yeah.
But as always, AEW has to go just a little bit too far. So Scorpio comes back, he hits Darby with a trash can, and they rub Darby's face in Scorpio's shoe, which is spikes. And then they throw him down a flight of stairs. I was like, what the fuck? Did we really need to watch Darby Allin fall down a flight of concrete stairs?
That was shocking to me. I mean,
that was a little too far. He could have died.
Yeah, absolutely. He could have broke his neck.
Yeah.
He could have broke a number of limbs going down there, let alone his neck. And I was like, are they really going to throw him down the stairs? Holy shit, they're going to throw him down the stairs. Wow.
I did not think they would do something that reckless and crazy. Even if Darby was like, yeah, let's do this, I would be like, yeah, you know what? I'm not gonna throw you down some stairs.
Yeah, because so here's the thing, right? We know Darby Allin is crazy. We know Darby Allin loves to take these risks. And more power to him, because, he comes off as this larger than life figure because of these things. And I give him credit because it's working. But there's got to be a limit. And I'm not talking about how old he is. Like, someone's got to say, and I guess it's got to be somebody from AEW to say, hey, we trust you, and we trust you know what you're doing by falling down these stairs, but we just can't take that risk. Like,
Yeah.
can you imagine what TNT would do? Like, this wasn't live, but can you imagine what TNT would do if AEW told them, like, one of our wrestlers died while we were filming Dynamite yesterday? What? You know, they'd be like, no effing way. Like, how did that happen? It's like, oh, it was a planned stunt and it went badly. They would be off the air in no time. TNT would be like, we can't have this. You know?
And storyline wise, I don't believe Ethan Page and Scorpio are that
Malicious.
stupid as to like possibly kill somebody and throw them down the stairs.
Yeah, they were smiling and laughing afterwards too.
I was like, okay. Yeah, so I didn't think this was too bad. Had it just ended with Darby beating the crap out of the two guys, I thought it would have been very good, but went too far. So, yeah.
That would have been a perfect ending, especially because for the last couple weeks, he's been getting his ass handed to them by those guys. So it'd be nice to have some comeuppance once, right? Like, he threw Page into the column, like you said. He coffin dropped Scorpio, and like you said, it would have been perfect if it ended on him saying like, yeah.
Stop interfering in my goddamn matches, and maybe I won't do this to you two clowns again. And then, of course, since they're bad guys, they'd be like, no, we're going to keep messing with you. So, like, okay.
Nah, we'll see you at Beach Blast.
Yep. So up next, we've got Britt Baker versus Julia Hart. And JR immediately answers all my questions. He says she isn't from Calgary. I was like, I mean, that was my first question as soon as they said Julia Hart. I was like, is she from Calgary? Like, no, she's not from Calgary. But this is the best part. I laughed out loud. As soon as the bell rings, Britt kicks her right in the stomach. She just goes, oh! And imagine, like, if you're Julia Hart and you're, like, telling all your friends and family, hey, I'm going to be on TV. And the first 5 seconds you're on TV, you just get kicked in the stomach, and you have to go, oh! It's like, poor Julia. So,
not a good look.
Yeah, it's pretty much, this match lasted already longer than we've started talking about it. Britt hits a sling blade, air raid crash, lockjaw. She won. Awesome. There's really nothing else to say about this. Unless you do.
No, I got nothing to say. I will say one thing that really had nothing to do with the match. I thought it was kind of funny because I was actually thinking it around the same time. I think JR said it. They were basically saying along the lines of, Reba's had that crutch for a really long time. I think it's growing out of her. It's like
growing out of her arm or something, right?
Yeah, and I gotta agree with them. Like, this gimmick is over. Like, okay, like it's been what, like 10 weeks now.
I don't think that thing's gonna go away though.
It's so dumb. It's like, I don't know. I know it's wrestling. Like, we have to let some things slide, but it's quite obvious that she hasn't needed it, if ever, for months. So let's get over it with it already.
And then we get something we haven't seen in a very long time, a technique by Taz. It's been too long. Technique by Taz on Christian Cage. And he's going to focus on 2 of Christian's moves, the frog splash and the kill switch. And then he says for the frog splash, Christian gets decent height, but he has a lack of explosion on the frog splash. Then he talks about the kill switch. He's talking about his match with Frankie Kazarian. He failed on 2 of 3 attempts because of inconsistent footworks. And then he shows clips of how his boy, Powerhouse Will Hobbs, throws him off so easily. And he says the honeymoon is coming to an end for Christian's comeback. And then they just show a bunch of clips of Brian Cage beating up Hangman. So this was awesome. I love this. Technique by Taz needs to be on every show.
This was really good because I remember the last, I don't know, it's been a while, very long time, like 3 or 4 that he did. He, brought up Moxley and I want to say Starks. And even for people that he was, kind of in feuds with or whatever, he was still pretty serious about them, and talking about how well they pull off the moves and stuff and they're dangerous, even though he wasn't the biggest fan of theirs. Mm-hmm. But this one with Christian, he just totally ripped him apart.
Totally ripped him. Like, yeah, you could have done this move better. You couldn't hit your move because of your footwork. Look at Hobbs just not even trying, countering your moves. It was beautiful.
We need this every week, though. You're right.
We do need this every week.
He needs to get on every week.
So then we've got the 4-way and the most telegraphed conclusion of all time. We've got Varsity Blondes versus Jurassic Express versus SCU and the Acclaimed. And I gotta say, what did you think about the match?
It wasn't very good.
Wasn't very good. Okay.
It wasn't because it was telegraphed. It just felt like there was too much going on and not enough substance to any of it.
That's true.
I get it's a 4-man. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know. Like there was no build to this. Suddenly we're supposed to care about all 4 of these teams because they're the top 4 contenders. And when was the last time we saw the Varsity Blondes or even SCU? Shit. When was the last time we saw Varsity Blondes, SCU, or the Acclaimed wrestling on Dynamite?
We haven't. Much less get a win. We've seen Jurassic Express quite a few times. But I mean, they've put so much into this story about SCU and the Young Bucks. It's like, well,
yes,
for them to just lose here in this 4-way would make no damn sense because SCU is gonna break up the next time they lose a tag team match. So if they lost here, they would just break up. It's like, well, we know that they're not. So this is pretty much here. This pretty much just felt like, hey, you know what? We've got Blood and Guts coming up. We've got an extra 10 minutes or so we need to fill up. You know what? We'll just put these guys out here. That's pretty much what this felt like.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. It really was like a foregone conclusion because unless AEW pulled a swerve and somebody else actually won this, which I would have been legitimately shocked.
Everybody would have been irritated as hell if that happened.
Yeah, this really shouldn't. I didn't want them to face the Young Bucks on this Dynamite. Don't get me wrong, but this really didn't need to happen. Just put them in the Young Bucks. Let's get to the finale already.
They're the number 1 contender. I gotta say though, the Acclaim, the rap was pretty good this week. They said they're gonna make Christopher Daniels retire. The Varsity Blondes are gonna be on Dark Side of the Ring in 10 years. They're gonna slap Jungle Boy like John Stossel, and then they're gonna take the belts off the Young Cucks. I thought that was actually pretty damn good and funny. So the best part of this match was right toward the beginning. Did you see this? Brian Pillman gets a tag in on Frankie, like a blind tag. And Frankie just turns around and punches him right in the face. And that's when all hell breaks loose. Oh my God. I was dying when that happened.
That looked legit. Like he really I can't believe you tagged me. And he really punched him.
Yeah, so right after that, everybody goes crazy. They go to picture-in-picture, and then back from the break, Luchasaurus beats up everyone. It's a chokeslam. He chokeslams Griff onto Pillman, chokeslams Kazarian over the top onto the Varsity Blondes. Jurassic Express slam the Acclaim onto each other. CD makes a save. And then after all kinds of everybody beating each other up, SCU hits the BME Tombstone combo for the 3 on Pillman. And so it was pretty much exactly what you expected. Everybody, it's just chaos all over the place. And so we're gonna get SCU versus the Bucks next week. Pretty much means it's gonna be the last ride of SCU, which is kind of sad, but
Yeah, it's too bad. I would have loved to have seen them have one run with the belt, but with Kazarian and Daniels, because obviously they had the belts with Kazarian and Scorpio, but
yeah. So, the only other thing I wanted to say about this match is goddamn Frankie Kazarian is good. He was like on a whole other level than pretty much everybody in this match. The dude is awesome.
That's a good point, man. He's so fluid. He makes it look easy, never confused. He's always in the zone, always one step ahead. He just looks like this is second nature for him, It's pretty nuts. Fun to watch.
Yep. So then we've got a video package of Jon Moxley as the IWGP US champion. They show all his wins and title defenses of his US championship belt, and they show Yuji Nagata, and then it turns out Jon Moxley is kind of pissed off. He says he came at Nagata with respect, but he apparently Nagata called him a little punk. And now he's going to squeeze the life out of him and dump him on his head. And when the bell rings, he has no respect for anyone. So it looks like Jon Moxley's winning next week. Because the only time he didn't say he was going to win was against Kenny Omega. And then he didn't win. And then every time he says, I'm going to beat you, blah, 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 he does it. So
That's a good point. You're right. He didn't say he was going to win, right?
yeah.
He said he didn't know what was going to happen.
He says,
I might come out dead.
If this is the end, then it's a hell of a ride or whatever the hell the quote was from last time. But yeah, anything you want to add about this little video package?
No, it'll be interesting to see. Like, it's so I gotta say, I mean, just straight up, it's crazy to think how far we've gotten with this, considering that a New Japan Pro Wrestling belt will be wrestled for on an AEW Dynamite in prime time American TV, which is nuts. I gotta say,
must be a real treat for all those New Japan fans.
I think it just speaks volumes to the fact of how far AEW is willing to push these relationships, which is good for the overall brand. I'll be the first to admit I don't know much about Yuji Nagata, and I know very little about New Japan, but it's cool that AEW is willing to try these things out, to work these relationships. And of course, it works both ways, that New Japan is willing to do that too. Be like, hey, you want to put our belt up for the championship on Dynamite? Let's do it. Yeah. We'll send one of our guys, Yeah. So happy to see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I guess I'm just happy that there's more to it than just one promotion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
AEW's pushing it out there. So.
Yeah. So Shivani's out there. They've got the Blood and Guts cage all set up already. He calls out Kenny Omega. He comes out wearing his AEW championship, and Nakazawa carrying all his other belts. And Kenny asks, how many people are ready for Blood and Guts? And everybody cheers. And he says, how many people are excited for a match called Blood and Guts? And everybody cheers. And he says, well, that's one of us. And he's been collecting gold all over the world. He doesn't even want to be here. So he just tells Shivani, just make the announcement. And this is where problem number one occurs. So he says, Shivani says there's going to be 2 challengers next week for the title eliminator, and the winner will get to face Kenny Omega at the pay-per-view. Brian Cage versus Hangman Page. Eddie Kingston.
Or Hangman Page.
Except that it's not Brian Cage and Eddie Kingston or Hangman Page. It's Pac versus Orange Cassidy, who are now the number 1 and number 2 ranked singles competitors. Even though Hangman Page was number 1 last week, and Brian Cage beat him last week. So one would think that Brian Cage would either be number 1 or number 2. But he's not either for some reason. Isn't this exactly the point in the show where Taz should have come out and ripped everybody a new one? And complain about this is the kind of crap that Tony Khan does to Team Taz and screws them out of all their opportunities. All the things that he always says happens. Isn't this exactly what's going on? Why is that
would have been a perfect,
Why is it not Brian Cage?
Yeah, I didn't understand it at all. When he said that they were going to have a title eliminator next week, I thought for sure Brian Cage was going to be one of them. I was like, okay, Brian Cage, and I don't know.
I figured it would have been Eddie Kingston.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know who the other one could be. I mean, off the top of my head, like you said, I was thinking Kingston. Maybe Hangman gets another chance. And then, like you said, Pac. I was like, okay. And then Orange Cassidy a second later. I'm like, what?
So there's nothing wrong with Pac and Orange Cassidy. It's just that why? Why did they make such a big deal about Brian Cage beating Hangman Page, the number 1 contender, last week? You did it last week. You showed us last week. You told us Hangman's number 1. He lost. And then now, like, Brian Cage is not even in the match for some reason? Why?
Yeah, you bring up a perfect point, man. It would have made more sense if they just straight up said, for whatever reason, without going into details about 1 and 2 contenders, saying, hey, it's going to be a title eliminator between Pac and Orange Cassidy. Yeah. Period. They don't need to say anything else. They don't need to say they're number 1 and 2 contenders.
Mean, they didn't have to. Yeah. They just didn't have to have Brian Cage beat Hangman last week. And then you know what? I wouldn't have even known who was number 1 and number 2, right? Because I don't go online and check the rankings every week. But AEW, you made a point to tell us that Hangman Page was number 1, and then Brian Cage beat him. And then this week, you're telling us that Pac and Orange Cassidy are number 1 and number 2. Why? Did either of these two guys beat Brian Cage on Elevation or Dark?
No, I seriously doubt it. They would have said that, right?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, but they would have probably said something that monumental, right? But
It's just,
actually, you bring up a good point. I do want to say that it would have been perfect if Taz came out. I mean, it would have been way too much going on in this one segment, but it would have been perfect if Taz just came out and said, wait, what? When did they jump the ranks?
yeah.
You need to put Brian Cage in there.
I mean, if Taz doesn't come out next week and isn't livid about this, then they've totally screwed up, because this is exactly what Taz is always talking about, right? Ricky Starks and Brian Cage, they keep winning and they never get their main events. They never get their title opportunities. And I don't get it. But you know what? Whatever. I mean, nothing against Pac and nothing against Orange Cassidy. They're going to have a good match. I like both of them a lot, but it's just, why did you even bring it up then?
Yeah, fair point, man. That was one of the issues I had. This whole segment I had an issue with, and that was one part of it, and the other part of it was we can get into when you break it down. So
just interject whenever that part comes up. I don't know what part you mean, but Kenny says, you know what? This is stupid. This is ridiculous. You know what? Just announce Pac. I thought that was awesome. And then Orange comes out, and my note says, where the fuck is Taz? But I guess that's what I wrote. That's my own personal thoughts. So Kenny says, Pac or who? And Shivani says, Orange Cassidy! And Kenny laughs, and the entire crowd chants, freshly squeezed. And Kenny says he sees people with their hands in their pockets. Everyone is dressed as Orange Cassidy. He's a feel-good wrestler. They love him because they want to be like him because they can. But they can't be like Kenny. And Orange is not championship material. The only thing that's championship material about him is that he stole the shades from the shades thing from Kenny. He takes the shades. He says they're Ray-Bans. He won't take his title, but he took his time, so he's going to take the shades, and he puts it on Nakazawa. And he says they look better on Nak, and Nak is more of a champion than Orange. And come back when he's a fully grown adult. And he mocks Orange Cassidy and says, see you in the funnies. Like, okay. So what else were you not a fan of in this?
I thought this went on way too long. Okay. This is way too long for me. Like, for me, I mean, it's a promo. I get it, but for a character like Orange Cassidy to work, it's got to be in short bouts for this kind of stuff, right? Yeah. We know he's not going to say anything. So what's the point of Omega just talking over him the whole time? He should have just easily said, like, you really think Orange Cassidy's going to win this? And just gone on about, like, yeah, whatever, whenever. And then he just leaves, Yeah. Perfect. End the story. End it right there. We don't need this whole spiel because Orange isn't going to say anything to rebut him. I just felt it was, like, way too long.
That's true. That's a fair point.
Again, this is only, like, 3 minutes, but
like he should have said a minute. He should have said something. Like Orange,
or said something. Yeah. That would have worked too. But this whole one-sided where Kenny talks for 3 minutes over Orange, and then Orange doesn't say anything. I'm like, okay, like, can we just move on to the next segment already? Yep. So,
and what a next segment we moved on to. Tony Schiavone is now with Miro, and oh my God, I can't wait till next week, because Miro says no one is gonna distract him from his destiny. And if you've got a title, you got a problem. He's got a contract, and he's here to collect. So 7 days from now, next week, he will be taking on Darby Allin for the TNT Championship. And Miro says, it doesn't matter if he forfeits, whether he's healthy or not. It doesn't make a difference. And the man he's, he hypes up that next week we're going to see the man who doesn't mind dying meets the man who doesn't mind killing him. It's like, oh my God, I cannot wait to see Miro versus Darby Allin.
Yeah, when he said that, I was like, the whole segment was awesome, but damn, like, I believe him. He's gonna kill somebody.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's so good. I can't wait for that. I cannot wait for the TNT title match. So they announced the lineup, so that's going to be next week. The TNT title is going to be on the line. Darby Allin's going to defend against Miro. Then we've got as previously mentioned, Orange Cassidy versus Pac for the shot at Kenny Omega at the pay-per-view. The Bucks will defend the titles against SCU. Shivani is going to interview Jade. Hopefully she calls out Red Velvet. Cody will make an...
And Brandy. Yeah. Red Velvet and Brandy.
Cody will make an announcement regarding Double or Nothing, and then Jon Moxley will defend the IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship against Yuji Nagata. But up next, we've got Blood and Guts. So I'm wearing to commemorate the Inner Circle win here tonight.
The Stadium Stampede winners.
Stadium Stampede Inner Circle winner shirt. What have you got?
You must remember that differently because
you got the
they didn't
same
win
shirt,
the Stadium
pal.
Stampede. They didn't win the Stadium Stampede. You must remember that differently.
Why do I have the shirt
then? Maybe it was a misprint that was sold for half off on shopaew.com.
What is this, like Moops? It's not a misprint. What do you got on?
I got my Elbowlution shirt on. See.
Who is that?
It's nobody. It's
just an Elbowlution.
It's the evolution of man.
And is he elbowing like some alien?
No, it's a human.
It looks like an alien draped over the table.
Oh, no, it's a human.
Okay.
I thought it would be appropriate considering, how crazy Blood and Guts is going to get.
Yeah.
And how it was.
Blood and Guts up next, and this was like a 40-minute match. So. Buckle up. But
yeah.
What did you think? Overall, what did you think?
So I really liked it. I thought it got a little crazy, which I figured it would. But I think a lot of that was unintentional. Which just goes to show you how crazy these types of matches can get. There was one thing I didn't really like about the end, and we can get into that at the end. But it goes, you know what? We'll get into it at the end. But overall, this match was crazy. I mean, from the very beginning, it was nuts. And I got to give if I had to say anybody really stood out to me, it would be Sammy.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say
holy
MVP
shit,
of this match was Sammy.
He came out like a bat out of hell. Yeah. Amazing.
So I really liked this until the end. And I wouldn't say it was something that's going to make me hate this match or be like, oh, God, this was terribly stupid, even though it was terribly stupid. But it was just like, why did they do this? But we'll get into it. So they announce Justin Roberts. He announces the rules. And then the Pinnacle comes out first. And MJF pushes someone in the crowd. And Elizabeth Olsen screams. Did you see that girl?
Yeah, she was screaming so loud.
Did you not think, is that Elizabeth Olsen? Who
it
was
kind
that?
of looked like her now that you mention it. Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean,
it kind of looked like her.
I'm a little bit farther away from my TV, so I was like, "Holy shit, is that Elizabeth Olsen?" But
she screamed
I'm
so
sure
loud.
It wasn't. But yeah, she did scream super loud. I didn't even see who MJF pushed, but
I didn't either.
Maybe it was maybe it was Aaron Taylor Johnson or something. I don't know.
Oh, get out of the way.
But yeah, so then the Inner Circle comes out. Everybody sings Judas. Judas with a full crowd, a full stadium singing it. Tremendous.
That was beautiful. I have to say it really looked like to me, and I could be wrong because I know I wasn't there and I don't know him, but it really looked like to me Jericho was tearing up a little bit.
Yeah, it kind of looked like he was very touched, and he was just like, probably because like he kind of felt like, hey, you know what, the fans are back. And I think he had an interview recently where it's just, he said it just feels weird to him that, he wrestling in front of no fans is kind of weird.
Yeah, I felt the energy. I mean, it was awesome to hear them, piping it out like that, and it was a nice touch. It was good to see a full crowd, or at least as full of a crowd as they could get for this. Yeah.
So only other observation before the match starts is Santana and Ortiz look badass with that war paint on. They had, I think they...
The dead presidents, yeah.
Yeah, I think they used that war paint in the
street fight.
The street fight with the best friends too.
Yeah, they did. They look scary as hell.
So period 1, they start off with Sammy and Dax starting it off. And I gotta say, before we start this, poor Dax. Every time like FTR has to get beat up, or he takes a lot of, he's the guy with the bad knee, but he's always the guy eating the most punishment for some reason. Like, poor Dax. He's so good. But I mean, maybe he wants to be that guy, but I kind of felt bad for him. He's always taking like the hard hits and stuff.
Oh, he ate shit in this match for sure.
Yep. So the match starts. Sammy jumps from one ring to the other, flips over, nails Dax, and then he's going crazy. Dax hits a spine buster, and then he, like a dumbass, he goes for the pin, and then the announcers say, "Oh, it was instinct." I was like, okay, whatever. And then Sammy slams him into the turnbuckle and into the camera. Dax injures his knee, and he's already busted open. Sammy hits a double springboard cutter. Then we go to period 2. Spears is in there with a chair. Sammy fights off 2 guys, but then Spears finally gets him with a chair shot. He poses for the rest of the period for some reason. I don't know why. So period 3 starts. Ortiz is in there. He's got his own chair. He goes nuts. He takes them both on. He slams Spears throat first onto the chair, then throws the chair into Dax's face. Sammy and Spears, this part was, I don't know how the hell they stayed on the ropes. They both jump up to the top rope. They're balancing with each other. And then Ortiz throws the chair into Spears, and Sammy turns that into a Spanish fly. That was really good. Sammy slips off a springboard, and this part looked really bad. He looked like he was supposed to springboard and clothesline onto Dax, but he slipped. He ate shit. And then now he's busted open. And then Cash jumps in for period 4. He hits a jumping clothesline on Ortiz. He goes after Sammy. Then FTR goes to work. They do an assisted brainbuster on Ortiz. Meanwhile, Spears is working on Sammy. Then Cash rubs Ortiz's face in the cage in front of Santana to mock him. Spears puts on the worst sharpshooter ever on Sammy. And then they do a gory special on Ortiz. He falls in between the cage and the apron.
Bad.
That
looked like it hurt.
Bad. That looked crazy.
That was unintentional for sure. Yeah.
No, I think that was intentional.
Oh, really?
I think it was.
You think he was supposed to fall between?
I think so, but it looked really bad. I mean, maybe it wasn't, but I kind of think it was.
I found it odd, so maybe I just don't know enough about these types of matches, because I if I recall, you've seen the War Games from before, right?
I haven't. Yeah, I mean, they did a bunch at like house shows too, so I obviously haven't seen those, but I think I've seen pretty much all the ones that were like televised. Yeah.
Why was there a gap on one side, like where Ortiz fell through, but the other side where they came in, the cage went over the ring apron? I thought that was odd. No, you know what I mean? That's why Ortiz fell through.
I guess
right? You know
that's just how they built it.
Oh, okay.
Because it was like different sides too of the ring.
Mm.
Like it was, one was on the horizontal. The one he fell through was the horizontal one, right? And the one with extra stuff added on the sides were the.
This is where they come up through.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think it's just how they built it. I don't think there was anything to really think about that. So period 5 starts. Santana gets in. He runs wild. He hits an Uranage on Cash. Dash is selling that knee, and they go to picture in picture. But for once, I don't stop watching. And then we get so they have a blood and guts match in picture in picture, and a Wipeout commercial with John Cena. That was really interesting. So at this point, everyone is already beaten up and broken down. Period 6 starts. Wardlow slowly stalks in the ring. He's in the other ring. He calls out all the Inner Circle. So the 3 of them go. They team up on Wardlow, but he fights all 3 and he destroys all 3 Inner Circle members. And then period 7 starts. Jake is in. He smokes FTR and Spears. He does a Hager bomb onto Cash. Ankle lock on Spears, who taps, but the match can't even end yet. So Wardlow and Jake stare each other down like Superman and Doomsday. And then they go at it. Wardlow gets the better of it. Period 8 starts. MJF is in. They crowd chants asshole at him. He distracts Jake, and Wardlow hits a chop block. He tells Jericho once he's in, he's a dead man. Cash is already bloodied up. So pretty much everybody on the Inner Circle except Wardlow is like bloodied up. Right? At this point?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty much.
And then I think Sammy's the only one really bloodied up on the Inner Circle side. Although,
yeah, and he looked like he had some major contusions, like bruises and stuff.
Yeah,
on his arm.
I mean that doesn't.
Unless that was blood, but I mean
that doesn't mean the rest of them who weren't bloodied up didn't take a bunch of punishment. But
yeah, Cash got really messed up, and I don't think that was intentional at all. Like and, he got cut something.
Yeah, and Dax's entire face was pretty much red. So
yeah, they were both FTR was pretty much both.
The Pinnacle bled quite a bit, and I gotta say the blood didn't really bother me too much in this match, just because it's like, well, probably some of it was unintentional, so I kind of let it go.
It was to be expected. I was actually, honestly, if I'm being honest, I was actually more surprised that more people on the Inner Circle weren't bleeding too, considering some of the moves they were taking.
Yeah. So the final period starts. Jericho's he's in. So the 2 teams regroup in separate rings, and then they charge at each other like the Avengers and Thanos' army, and each going for their respective arch enemy. Jericho's got the bat. Spears climbs the cage for some reason. It led to nothing.
Except him getting choked out.
I don't know what the hell that was for. And so they go to another picture-in-picture. Everybody slows down. They're all beaten up. They come back from a break. The left ring is all torn up. The wood underlay is exposed. They do a double spike pile driver onto FTR by Santana and Ortiz with Sammy as the spike. Jericho hits a code breaker, and then Spears was about to hit Jericho from the back, but then Sammy swoops in, gives him a kick. Then Spears takes a Van Terminator from Sammy with Ortiz holding the chair. Jericho hits MJF with the steel backing of the turnbuckle, so he's all bloodied up too. Santana's got a fork. He jabs it into MJF's bloody head. The Inner Circle is dominating. Wardlow makes a comeback until Santana hits him with a baton. Then Ortiz whacks him with a chair. They all team up on Wardlow, and they go to the final picture-in-picture. And during the picture-in-picture, Tully Blanchard destroys the ref, and he takes the key. And he opens up the door. MJF escapes and climbs to the top, and Jericho follows. So this is where I have the problem. If this were not in the script, and you are Chris Jericho, and you are fighting in a match with 5-on-5 in a locked cage, and one of your opponent runs away, why the hell would you follow him? Lock the cage door, and now you've got a 5-on-4.
See ya. Yeah. See you later. Yeah.
I mean, this is not a perfect example, but let's just say this were the NBA Finals, and it's all tied up. The Lakers versus the Milwaukee Bucks. And with 2 minutes left, Giannis walks off the court. LeBron would be like, all right.
See ya.
Bye. Right?
He's going to chase him down.
He's going to chase Giannis into the crowd, into the locker room. Like, so this part really pissed me off. Like, and you're Chris Jericho. You're like, you have 30 years of experience. This is not your first rodeo. Why would you follow MJF up to the top of the cage? Other than it's in the script.
Yeah.
So this part pissed me off. But anyway, what followed was fine. So it's wrestling. It's in there because it's in there. I can't get mad. This was really good nonetheless. Meanwhile, so while MJF is climbing him up, the Inner Circle is still winning. And this part kind of irritated me too, where MJF and Jericho are fighting up on the top, and they don't show what's happening in the rings now, inside the cage.
I was very annoyed by that.
So they pretty much just focused on Jericho and MJF. He puts MJF in the walls, then MJF breaks it up with a low blow. He puts on the Salt of the Earth. Jericho doesn't tap, so he goes to work on the left arm. He starts biting Jericho's arm. He puts on the Salt of the Earth again, but then he puts on the Diamond Ring, and he clocks Jericho. And now Jericho's finally been busted open, and MJF deviously looks to the bottom and makes some plans to throw Jericho off the top. And he tells the Inner Circle, hey, you know what? If you don't surrender, I'm throwing this dude off the top of the cage. And so finally Sammy says, okay, we surrender. Don't throw him off the top of the cage. And everybody boos, and pretty much the only person who didn't know MJF was going to throw him off the cage anyway was Sammy Guevara and the rest of the Inner Circle. So MJF throws him off the cage anyway. Jericho plummets down to the earth. He breaks the stage. He's completely destroyed and dead. And so I guess they finished the match early because there was a lot of like posing by MJF for like 3 minutes at the end.
Did you notice that? I mean, like, I was like, oh God, like, why is this still going?
They just had airtime. I mean, I think they just ended too early because how do you plan for a match like this to end exactly when you need it to, right?
Very true. That's a good point, but I guess I never looked at it like that. I just thought, like, did they build this so that we would just get 3 minutes of us watching MJF on top of the cage?
I doubt it. I really think that they just had time, and so so they just keep going back between shots of Jericho destroyed, dead on the floor, and MJF celebrating on top of the cage. And you even noticed too, MJF was gonna start climbing down. But then he came back up because I guess everybody was just like, no, we're still on the air. Go up there and pose and smile with your bloody face. And so he does that. And that's how Dynamite ended. So a super, super good match other than the stupid decision by Jericho to walk up to the follow MJF up to the top of the cage for no good reason at all, other than because it's in the script.
In the script, I'm totally with you. And here's the thing that bothers me almost as much as what you described. That it's like, unless it's in the script, this makes no fucking sense. They could have done this so much better if they really wanted Jericho to chase after MJF. First off, here's my issue. Why is MJF running away from the cage and he's going on top of the cage? It's just like last week when QT climbed the bus to escape from Cody.
Yeah.
It's like, what? I mean, it's like, oh, I got to get away from these guys. They're beating my ass.
I mean,
the safest place I can go.
You can kind of
the fucking cage.
You can kind of explain it away and say that was MJF's plan all along, but at the same time, if you're MJF, is like, well, you don't know, right? You don't know. First of all, you don't know Jericho's gonna follow you. What if it's somebody else? What if it's
two guys?
What if Hager?
Guys?
Yeah. What if Hager climbs up after you and he throws you off the top before you? Right?
Exactly.
Like, so I mean, that's kind of a risky move, right? It's like, oh yeah, Jericho's gonna follow me, and I'm gonna be able to beat him up and clock him with the ring, and then threaten the Inner Circle. You have no idea that can really happen
unless it's in the script, right?
Yeah.
And you know, it would have made sense. Like, here's how I would have played it out, right? MJF tries to escape because he's getting his ass beat. He sees the writing on the wall. It's like, F this, right? He's kind of loony, or he acts like he's loony. He tries to escape. And like the ref, I guess because there's only one ref up now, which is dumb because, again, why didn't the fucking Pinnacle immediately lose when they attacked the ref? Hello. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's one of those things too. It's really stupid where it cheapens the cage, where it's like, oh, well, Tully Blanchard can just beat up the ref and take the key.
Yeah.
Why have the fucking cage then?
Yeah, exactly. Like, if Tully had another way to get into the cage, which, again, I don't know how. Maybe he cuts the lock or something. I don't know.
I disagree. The whole point of the cage is so that no one can get in or out. And once somebody gets in or out, then it's like, why do we care anymore then? The next time we have a blood and guts, it's just like, okay, well, we're just going to wait until whoever beats up the ref and takes the key or something, right? It's like,
yeah, I thought that was a huge, like, what the fuck moment? Because it especially happened in picture too. I had to do a double take. Like, is Tully attacking the ref? What?
I think
is this illegal?
I think they didn't really have a choice on that though. Just the way it happened. Like, I'm sure they would have liked Tully to do it when they weren't in picture, but just the way the commercial breaks timed out, like they didn't really have a choice. Because maybe they wouldn't have had enough time for MJF and Jericho to climb the cage had they waited for them to come back from commercial. I don't know.
Going back to that, like, I know I'm armchair quarterbacking this, or whatever, armchair wrestling this. Like, let's say Tully attacks the guy. MJF tries to escape. He's loony or whatever. He's trying to get out of there. And like Aubrey Edwards, who was the other ref, right?
Yeah.
I think she straight up tells him, like, you can't effing leave this area. You know what I mean? You can't leave this area or you will lose. And then he climbs the cage for whatever reason. I don't know. That would have made more sense. That would have given a storyline reason that he can't just leave. Okay, I'm going to climb the fucking cage then to get away, you know? And then maybe Jericho goes after him. But I mean, there was way more hits than misses, but it's just...
I mean, we're bitching about it quite a bit, but at the end of the day, this was a very good match and very entertaining. And
I would definitely recommend
anybody
hasn't seen it to watch it. Yeah. It was great.
All 10 of these dudes busted their ass and busted their bodies and took a hell of a beating for our entertainment. So
holy shit,
can't really complain too much.
I won't take that away from them for sure. That's for sure. It was a knockdown drag out fight, and these guys did get hurt. There's no guarantee. I mean, there's no doubt about it that they didn't come out of this worse than they came in.
Yep. Yeah. So other than that, I mean, pretty damn good show. I can't wait for Miro and Darby.
Next week is going to be a stacked card. I mean, Dynamite, whatever they're doing, other than some storyline, mishaps, whatever they're doing for setting up these matches, they're doing a damn good job. This will be like the 4th week in a row. I'm looking forward to the match lineup. Like, just pretty much like, wow, every match I really want to watch. Yeah.
Yep.
Every announced match, because I'm sure there'll be some filler matches too.
Somebody in action.
Yeah, exactly.
Against somebody.
Somebody that we've never heard of from AEW, Midnight. I don't know.
Yeah. or whatever.
AEW After Hours.
After dark.
After Dark. AEW at Dusk.
Oh man. But other than that, you got anything else to add?
No, that's it, man.
All right. So that wraps it up for us this week. We will catch you again next week. Again for another AEW Dynamite recap. Until then, press all those nice buttons that give us support. You know which ones they are. They're not the ones that look like this. But other than that, we're done. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching, and be good and stay safe as always.
Thanks, guys. Take care.